All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? I hope everybody is having a fabulous Sunday morning. My wife and I have had two Christmas parties back to back. I got to tell you, I don't party like I used to. Oh, it is crazy. Good morning, Jack. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing great this Sunday morning. How about yourself?
I am doing well. I'm looking forward to this conversation. The more I dig into this conversation, the more I realize I just have so much to learn. And I want to start off by making a before we kind of just we're gonna do some chit chat and then we'll go through some stuff. Look at but the one thing I want everybody here to understand is nobody's expecting you to remember what we talked about today. There's just no way. And you don't have to. That's the good thing. These articles, the discussion points are found proxy blog. They're found on Coin Week. Again, we've talked about you want to find information on this. Uh, just go to Coin Week, go to proxy blog, type in Jack Young, Jack Riley, and uh, if you don't have some of those articles uh, bookmarked on your browser, get to it. Because as we look through some of these coins today, I'm going to read you verbatim the start of something that Jack Young stated. We're going to be looking at some coins. We're going to be talking about some of the photos. Um, when we're talking about the micro O's, the counterfeit dollars, they're some of the best U.S. counterfeits, the most. And again, we're talking about um, the more modern, contemporary counterfeits. We're not talking about some of the old school. And some of the coins you're going to see are some of the best counterfeits. They've been around since the 1940s, but they were always thought about genuine until 2005. And in 2005, much like what happens in the hobby in general, is a couple coins come in and somebody went, "Hey, we have a problem. We got some bag marks on this coin." They're like, "So?" And it's like, "Well, it's on the 1996 O." Okay, yeah. What's your point? Well, here's the 1990, or here's the 1900 O. Okay, um, they're exactly the same. And here's 1902, and it's exactly the same. And PCGS went, "Oh." It's like, yes, it is. It's an O. And so through discovery, through looking at coins, and by the effort done by a lot of amazing people, some of these things have brought to light. And then people like Jack Young, Jack Riley, Zach, they all get together and really dig in. This is why they're here, right? Jack Young is on panel, but Jack Riley's in chat. He's going to be talking through chat. I want you guys to ask questions. As we go through these things, Jack's going to be dropping lots of information. I talk about Riley. I'm just going to say Riley and Young. Okay, make it easy. Riley's going to be dropping stuff in chat, talking about what exactly to look for. As we go through each piece, I'm going to pause, give him time to enter what it is that we need to look for. We will navigate to that, and then we will discuss it. Once we can get his audio stuff figured out and get everything done, then we'll get him to where he can come on audio. But right now, he's going to support us through chat. Jack also has, or Young has, information that we're going to be going through. So there's going to be a ton of stuff today, and I mean a ton of stuff. What I want you to do is, if you guys are milling around, you're getting ready to settle down, I want you to go grab some of your Morgans. 19 or 1896, 1900 O, 1902 O are going to be the three primary coins we're going to be looking at. We're not looking at every single Morgan. There's no way we could do that in a 2-hour show. But there's going to be tons of information. And what I really want you guys to think about is, of all the die markers and all the conversations, a pen, a piece of paper, and a really good description, knowing what time it is. And again, we'll mark it. Okay, right now we're going to be looking at this. The time is 8:36 Central. That means we've been live for 6 minutes. You go 6 minutes into the video, you'll know where to find it. As we go through, I will try to classify in chat when we talked about a specific coin. It's going to take me a couple days to kind of go through the video and make sure we're tracking this, but I'll create timestamps for you. You'll be able to go back and look through this video, listen to this live stream, look at those items, click on that, and then that'll take you directly to what it is we're talking about. So we're going to try to make this as beneficial as possible. I want this to be something that you go back to when you look at a Morgan, or before you go to a coin shop, before you go to a coin show. Familiarize yourself with a couple of these items. That's what I'm going to ask you to do. On my end, please understand that I'm not the expert on these. Trying to relay information. I do have a couple people supporting, but again, these are Jack Riley's articles, and so Jack's in chat supporting it. When Jack Young's talking about his articles, Jack's online, obviously, he's going to be supporting it. If I stumble, it's because I'm learning with you, okay? And so there's so much information. Just take the pressure off of yourself. I've told you guys that as I've gone through and watched the proxy, or looked at Proxy Blog, listened to Jack on Live Coin or Ben the Coin Geek or wherever Jack's been, looking at the various articles that he's listed, the conversations that him and I have had, I found counterfeits in my collection. Now, one was a Carson City. I believed it to be, but wasn't identify that it was. But the one that I didn't know about was a 1902 Morgan dollar. We're going to be talking about that very coin today. And so again, it's really important that you understand what we're going to try to do today. So bear with us, okay? Let me share. Do you have anything to add, Jack, before we start?
No, I think you've covered it very well. Again, I'm here to learn as well. I mean, what Jack Riley and Winston and those folks know about these contemporary counterfeits, the micro O's, goes beyond my expertise, and so I'm learning. And as I told you earlier this morning, I started collecting the 5 linked obverses just because I think it's cool, and of course I look at anything counterfeit, but it is certainly a lot broader than that, as I'm sure Jack Riley's article is going to show.
Yeah, and I don't know how much hair you have, Jack Riley. But if I get stuff wrong, try not to pull all your hair out. Um, just just say, hold on, let me clarify. I have no problem just being quiet for a moment and giving you that. So whatever you need, again, just drop it. If I have a moderator that can kind of work and help to get my attention, again, I have tons of things open, and so I'm trying to monitor it the best I can. Jack says this is a very difficult topic. Yeah, no joke. It's taken him many years to correlate the learnings. Hours of far-fetched. Yeah, a fact. Okay, you couldn't have said it any better. Thanks, Jack. All right, so let's orient you to what I'm going to be showing you today. First off, coin scope, right? Got the coin here, got a couple different coins here. You'll see that I'm looking at a very specific area, knowing the coins. Now, last week I showed the Morgan dollar, kind of the architect of the coin. It showed you all the different places. Those were names that were done by Van Allen and Malice, right? So when they talk about the VAM, you go look at the design and what they're talking about. Whenever you're looking at Morgan dollars, you really need to make sure you understand when people say the two berries, what the heck do they mean? So familiarize yourself with that. If you're into Morgans, you want to learn more about counterfeits, or you really want to look at your stuff, I'm going to show you where that's at. It's in the video that we did last week, so you can go back and look at that. But I don't want you having to go back and forth between videos. Find VamWorld, look at that, have your resources available, have your Coin Week article or your Ploxy blog article or whatever it is up. Have your coin scope up or your loop, whatever you're going to use, and then begin, and only then begin to work on trying to attribute whether or not you have what you have. Don't listen to something and then just start looking. You potentially could classify real coins as fake, and you could classify fake coins as real. Be very careful. Again, like Jack said, there's a lot of information to go through this, and you're going to look at key points, see certain things, and then we can go through that. The next thing I'm going to show you is this. These are some images that have been put together by Jack Riley. I'm going to be showing you these instead of just showing you the article. So I made them a little bit bigger for you to be able to see. You'll be able to see some of these things. So as I'm going through the stuff that he's provided to me to read for you guys as we go through these elements, as Jack talks about these, Jack, you have some of the coins. In fact, you have one of the original ones of these,
Yes, I
correct?
have several. Yes, again, I'm collecting the 5 linked obverses, and then I have a couple other dates as well.
And so Jack will be able to, again, vocally do that, but watch chat. Really be looking for Jack Riley's comments in chat. And again, hopefully soon we can get his audio stuff taken care of. Get him on this. Um, get him on this panel. So let's go ahead and dig in. So today we're going to be talking about New Orleans. Again, yesterday, if you missed yesterday, um, Saturdays are about the story. It's about the history. It's about fun facts. It's about learning about the mint. And then on Sundays, we actually break down and do some dirt. We get in, we look at the coins, try to understand what's happening, try to teach you guys the best that we can. I try to bring the people who know what they're doing. And it's not always going to be counterfeits. It might be more historical context. If we're going to be looking at ancient coins and stuff like that, Aaron might have to come talk to you about some of these things. So we're going to continue this for a little while. It seems to be something that um, people enjoy. And I'll tell you, as a producer of content on YouTube, yesterday I went to a coin show. The Alamo Coin Show. It was a lot of fun. Actually, quite a large coin show for what I thought was going to happen. Check Stacker was also impressed. He was like, very well put together, very well done. But a gentleman approached me. He said, "Hey, you're Frostbite." And I was like, "Oh my God, yay!" Yes, I am. And he's like, we watch our channel, and you'll see my wife in there. But we both look at the channel. We appreciate what's going on. Talked to a couple different dealers, and one of the guys was like, I need to look at your channel. And his wife was talking about, his son is really, her grandson is really interested in looking at these, and was talking about stuff and looking at, things like counterfeits and stuff. And so I want to just, number one, say thanks. You guys don't know how much it means to me. And I don't get to coin shows or anything very often, but to come up and say, hey, you know what, you helped me with this. I know there's a lot of people in chat that do a lot, but Jack Young, you and I have talked quite a bit recently. Introduced by Paula, and again, I mention Paula all the time. She's doing well, by the way. Please make sure you say hi and reach out to her. But one of the things that you and I have talked about, and we're quite clear on, is a lot of people look at you and go, well, you're the expert. And you're like, let me clarify. I have a very specific niche. Um, but the amount of work that you guys do, Jack Young, Jack Riley, Zach, um, Matt from the Coin Show podcast, um, to protect the hobby is it's something that shouldn't be understated. So as we go through these things, I want you guys to remember this is years of research, years of digging into these photos and really understanding some of these nuances. Really easy to take, for an hour and go through this and go, oh man, hey, that was great. Just really understand what went into, because again, I'm looking at 8 sets of slides just to show you some pictures. This cultivates, or this is culminated of years of effort. So I want you guys just to be aware of that as we look through some. So as I stated before, we're going to be looking at the New Orleans Mint Mark. We're going to be looking at 1896, 1900, 1902 primarily. There are specific VAMs. We'll talk about that. And as stated in the story, again, looking at PCGS was going through this and said, we have an issue. This particular mark is showing up across the board. We're seeing this on the VAM 4, VAM 5, VAM 3. They're all the same mark. And you can see that on some of them, there's more chatter. It's hard to tell. That 1900, it kind of blends in a little bit more. So some of your markers are not necessarily easy to see. And a lot of people are down on the TPGs. Oh, well, they got something wrong or they labeled something wrong. I want to remind you guys that they deal with a massive volume, and they are they are really good at what they do. But people are going to make mistakes, and when you're dealing with tens of thousands of coins a month, you're potentially going to make a mistake, right?
Can I make
So
a comment?
please,
We talked earlier about it. These were considered genuine coins back to the 40s. I mean, it's not a PCGS issue. It was absolutely accepted that these were genuine. And because so many suddenly came out to be submitted to PCGS, they had a larger volume to look at. That's when they caught it. Repeating marks as an indicator to counterfeits has been around for quite some time. And the ANA was doing that through Annex and the numismatists. And I have a couple of those ANA counterfeits in my case where they were initially identified by the repeating marks. So again, we talk about the TPGs making a mistake. This is a transition. This is a transition from knowledge of the time becoming more focused and more information available when they adapted to that.
right? Well, and that's a really good point because again, as we look through some of these, it's it's easy, and I'm going to say this. If I say this incorrectly, please feel free to correct me. It's really easy to look at this stuff and go, "Well, yeah, that's obvious." Well, yeah, it's obvious because you have three pictures side by side.
Exactly.
How many times do you have your entire collection and you're looking at all these things together, right? So when you're looking at these things, it's really easy to say, "Well, yeah, that's easy." But just seeing, yeah, that's a great point, Luther. Contact marks can give false positive as well, um, because they're similar. But again, they have to be exact. So don't just take one location; you have to take them all. Take them all into account, right? There's certain things that just won't ever happen in the minting process that you'll see when you're doing a die struck counterfeit, or and we don't see tons of those. How many of those of the really good quality cast counterfeits you ever see?
The ones that I've been chasing, we're up over 100 and some now. And the issue with that is there's more coming to the market. So there's more out there we're not aware of. But back to the point, some of those coins when they first came out were suspicious. And then when we found a second and a third one and they had the matching marks, and what I call matching marks are matching circulation marks. If it's got scratches, dents, and things, and the second coin has them as well, then that's an issue. Obviously there are marks associated with varieties, and that's in the original die, and that should be in the other coins. But when you have matching circulation marks, then you need to step back and take another closer look. And that's how we found some of these very, very deceptive ones that go back to 2015, 2017.
Yeah, and again, when you go to a place like this, in a PCGS or even in a coin community, you go back to the Henning nickel, right? Somebody looked at the Henning nickel and went, "Hey, um, are you guys seeing this?" Right? And then they started to look at it, and then the die scratch would disappear, but the mark in the R was there. And then the mark in the R went away, but the one little die stain was on every one of the coins, right? So there's a lot of these that you know they were
My
discovered because people are looking at massive volumes of coins.
Exactly. And my most famous coin has a star in front of its face, and it's a
Yeah,
PPG slab, so, how did that happen?
I love that coin, by the way. Um, and that's why it's on your new logo. Cool.
Absolutely, that's a logo for life.
So one of these, and again, when we look at some of these coins, this is obviously the 1896 O. But one of the coins that Jack Riley shared with me was this particular one. And there's two different coins here. This is just the 1896 family. So this just goes to show that there's multiple coins in this uh, die pairing, this die family. And why do we say it that? Or why do I say that? Well, because it's not just one, there's multiples, right? And so when you start to look at things, maybe they understood. And again, right? Morgan, after them listening to you at LiveCoin Q&A within 2 weeks, the word Morgan fell off. So they're constantly changing, they're constantly monitoring, they're constantly adjusting, but they still use those same dice. So maybe they're fixing something, maybe they're changing something, maybe they found the correct reverse. And so, but here's one here that he sent me, and again, we're talking about a $1,500 coin. Jack, you talked about the coin that you found, you know, 10, 12, 15, $20,000. So some of these coins, they're not just necessarily the cheap Chinese counterfeits. Some of these are extremely good and have fooled professionals for years. So don't beat yourself up if you look through your collection and you find one of these. I would lay wager, and my buddy Tiger Stacker has. We've talked about this. He's got a box and a half monster box full of Morgans. I would lay wager somewhere in his collection he has a few counterfeit. And because they're that good. In many cases, you just wouldn't know. They test right, they look right. Unless you're going to put every one of these on a Sigma and verify it's metallurgical content or something. Unless you know these markers, this is going to fool a lot of people. So I wanted to kind of walk through some of these things. Now,
Just a just a comment on this one. This was certified well after PCGS wrote their article. So we can talk about how they finally figured out it was a counterfeit coin and addressed it with their article in 2005 moving forward. But this one was just recently certified. So maybe they lost their own institutional learning. Who knows? But this then becomes a mistake, in my opinion, and I would think Jack Riley's as well. And part of the value for these things, they have gone out of sight. Any that's in a PCGS holder it gets a premium for sure, or any of the TPG holders
right.
get premiums now when you find them on the marketplace.
Well, and again, people think it's like, oh, they have one of these. There's actually, if I'm remembering this correctly, I just closed the article. I'm trying to open it again. There were 30 some odd die varieties on the 1896 O that um, Jack Riley and them have identified. So there's a lot of information in here. There's a lot of work. So again, they fool the professionals. So I'm not expecting any of you to know what each one of these are, but I do want you to have kind of an idea of what to look for. So one of the things, and again, you can look at utilizing an XRF machine. For those of you who don't know what an XRF machine does, it basically is an X-ray, a handheld X-ray machine that you can test the metallurgical makeup of the coin. There's some misunderstandings about what XRF is. Actually, XRF doesn't scan through the metal. It only is a surface analyzer. But it will give you the breakdown. It'll tell you its resistivity. It'll tell you a little bit about the coin. But a lot of people misunderstand that an XRF will actually allow you to test the inner content of the metal. It doesn't allow you to do. It just allows you to test the surface. If you're going to test something through, you need one of the Sigma Analytics, one of the kind of the moderate to the higher grades with the wands, if you're looking at coins or bars, to actually test the metal all the way through. Most of us don't have the money to do this, but your coin shops do. And so if you are buying these things, buy these things from a trusted source. Have them test them. Have them walk through. You don't have to become an expert. But I want to ask a question to both Jacks. How do these test? When you test some of these counterfeits, because I have a Morgan silver dollar that's sitting in front of me. I know it's fake because it's a 1901. It's one of the ones that Jack showed me, and it tests right. It's a silver coin. It's actually heavier than it should be. Thicker than it should be. I don't think it's silver all the way through. It's non-magnetic. It slides correctly. It's just fake. They are good silver. Yeah. And so um, just testing it alone doesn't matter. Now, a lot of stackers are like, well, if I'm only stacking weight, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but you're temporary stewards of your collection. Somebody eventually is going to get this and go through this. It's important that you know. I'll tell you something about the law. The law looks at intent. It takes intent into consideration. But there's also monetary values that if somebody comes back and complains and they're high dollar values, you fall within that, you're gonna get in trouble. So we all owe due diligence to check what we have in our stacks and in our collection and try to identify whether it's authentic or not. Can everybody do it alone? No. This is why we bring some of the experts. So I just want to walk through and talk a little bit about the origin of these. And again, I'm going to leave this here for just a little while. Jack, do you have anything to add before I kind of talk about the origin of these counterfeits as best we know?
No, other than I went into Jack's article, I have it open as well. And a lot of the ones were scanned a little higher than 90%. And so that's kind of opened a debate of whether it was sterling silver that was used in the planches that were made because they show a little higher percentage of silver in the planches.
Which, if you're a stacker, people are like, well, what's the problem with that? Um,
Exactly.
right. But the problem is, and again, when you're looking at um, Azure, overwhelming majority of crimes rely on intent in order for the all those statutes clearly direct general intent. Well, and again, if you talk to the ACEF and you talk about what's going on and what they try to do, it's always they have to validate intent. But here's the thing: when you get to certain dollar amounts, so again, I don't know too many stackers. There's a few stackers in the community who have significant money when it comes to this. And if you sell and somebody starts going through this and they find out that 5%, 10% of your collection is fake, you don't think they're going to come back? Um, and so there's just a due diligence. Now, can everybody do this? Yeah, everybody can look at one of these, look at some of your articles, learn about it. Am I expecting everybody to? No. But I want to be able to give people the information so that they can make the um, the best possible decisions they can with their coins. If you have them, you have them. Okay, it's done. We can search and we can find them. Let's teach you enough information so you don't buy more, right? So, what's in the past is in the past. Identify it, move on. But again, let's go through and make sure we know what's going on. Pawn shops get fakes coming in every day. That's fact. When we were at the coin shop, the coin show yesterday, the guy had two Morgans come in that were counterfeit. Just moments before we got there. And as we were talking to the guy, he's like, "Oh man, I wish you'd have been here 10 minutes ago. I would have told this guy, um, you guys do this stuff, and I could explain it. One with weight was off, and then the other one, um, it I don't know, it looked like a metal cutout. It was magnetic, but it was good grief, like 3/8 inch thick or something. It was 3/16 inch thick. It was like it was way too. Anyway, he's like, you could just see it. But when you hold them in your hands, and I showed him an authentic one and whatever, and he explained the weight and everything, and the guy was like, "Oh well, this sucks. I didn't know that they were fake." So yeah, they happen all the time. And then Jack Young has talked about the $15,000 mistake that a professional has done. Um, Find me, I'm lost. Yeah, no, we'll get back to it. I'm just running. I'll get back to the story, David. Sorry. Okay, so we're looking at this. One of the things, again, we stated that this has been around since the 1940s, the micro varieties. And there's a gentleman by the name of Chris Ployd who shared his thoughts regarding this particular coin. And one of the things that he brought out was this coin right here, who has 1905 in there. And there was a theory posed that they were likely struck during a time where the price of silver had dipped, right? And so they were utilizing, again, as you said just a moment ago, potentially the sterling silver or whatever it was. But some of these potentially even go back to the New Orleans mob, the crime family. But they still don't actually know the origins of these, correct? That's a question for Jack Riley. They still don't know the bottom line. EMR said, I looked through a collection for a window this month that turned out to be around 25% fake. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And again, if you have them, you have them. Unfortunately, yeah, correct. Okay, thanks, Jack. Appreciate that. One of the unfortunate parts about this is, people buy them, they buy them. Uh, what we want you to do is have enough to where you can understand kind of what you're looking. But this is a 1896 O, and somebody has graffitied the 1905 in there. I don't know what the I don't know who Chris Ployd is. Who is this person? Do you know who this person is, Jack?
Chris Pillion?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris has been involved in numismatics forever, and he's also a metal guy. Chris is a member of EAC, and he's a gentleman that arranged to have a whole bunch of my early large cents and half cents scanned at his Philadelphia test lab to try to determine what the planchets were. So he's done a lot of metal analyzation of counterfeits going way back.
I again, fairly still new to the community. Only been engaged for about 3 years, so a lot of these names just don't ring a bell for me. Um, so thanks for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, he and I have, like I said, I got involved with him back in 2015 and 16 trying to understand these really deceptive copper counterfeits, and he was just a real help.
I appreciate the clarification because again, I haven't dealt with these people. I have not dealt and dug down into the depths of these like Jack Riley, Jack Young, Zach, some other folks. So I don't know who all these players are. And again, looking at networks, you can't possibly know everything. A lot of people have been around this hobby for a lot of information. But what's really important about this is knowing the folks who can get you that information. And so if you have questions on that, reach out to Jack Riley, reach out to Jack Young, reach out to some of these folks and let them use the networks that they've built over these years to help you identify what's what. Um, Again, they do this out of love for the hobby and want to protect it. Just great resources for people to utilize. One thing I want to do here is let's start actually looking at some attribution stuff and talking about some of the things that you can look at in relation um, coins. Now, I actually have this is moved. I need to delete the. I was doing something. This is actually a night. Um, and what I want to look at first is this image here, this image on bottom right, which is that M. You'll see the diagonal depression arrowhead there, and then you'll see that M. These are two pickup points for that 19, or excuse me, the 1901 O and the 1900. Now I'm going to shift my screen, and again, I have a whole bunch of stuff up there with me, bouncing back and forth. What's up, Vote for Pedro? Good to see you, brother. Um, let's. So I have this. Okay, so this coin, we'll flip that over. We're going to be looking at a 1901. So we just looked at that area. So when I come to this M, right, I look at that M and you're going to see what that normal M looks like. I flip that back over and you're looking at what that looks like down to the bottom. You'll see how that's kind of malformed. Okay, so this is something on your 1901 and your 1902s to kind of be keeping an eye out. This is in America, you'll see that just right of that wing. But I wanted to show you what an authentic coin would look like and show you that you don't have that, right? It's nice, it's straight. And then when we go over to the arrows down here, you'll see that there's no depression in the arrow. It looks clean. It's good. You got that solid thing, that solid edge. There's no depression. If we come back over and look at this one, you will see that that has that little line that connects to the second arrow. And that's the diagnostics for the 1900 O. Now you're going to talk about this one again later, right, Jack? The one that has the two little spike marks on the M.
Old Jack or new Jack?
Old Jack.
Yes, I have a little presentation I did.
Okay. Um, this is something that it's pretty easily it stands out. This is the 1900 O. You have these two gauges. Now the denticles. Did the denticles tell you anything here? Just that they beat the die to death. This is just die wear on that particular. I'm asking young Jack, by the way. Jack Riley laughing like ah. Um, Luther says it looks cast. Which one looks? This one is that a cast coin, Jack? Can you tell? Jack Young.
I, I do not know. Without seeing better pictures, I don't know. I don't know if Luthor's looking at the, particularly that damage on the M.
Yeah. Um, I'm not sure. I think it's probably just eye wear on. I didn't know if they checked out for anything, but it's these two things right here, and you can see. I think Jack Riley's probably pulling out his hair. He's like, "Man, I need to tell people over himself." Um, just kidding. He produced a lot of really good information. Oh, these are struck coins from the process. Okay, thanks, bud.
Yeah, that
Appreciate
makes
that.
sense. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Um, but again, there's some certain markers. So these kind of common things. Again, we talked about the CC Morgan, right? And knowing the mint marks, knowing the position of the mint mark. That's still a really good place to start when you're looking at. Doesn't matter what mint mark it is. It's always a really good place to begin. And so I don't have a whole lot of images on the positioning of that. It's usually the other items. Now this one I'm going to need a little bit of help with. I had a hard time really understanding, and I'm going to make this bigger just so that we can track this. Um, what are we looking at with the berries? Are the berries, and I'm going to go back to the authentic. Oops, sorry, folks. Um, this. Um, are these the berries that they're talking about here? So that C4, C3 reverse, because I don't know where this is at. And this is one of the things, or are they talking about where is this? This is why it's important to know the elements of the coin. I can't find that particular set. And this is a 1901, so I should be able to see that reverse. Am I not looking in the right place, or do I not have the right coin? I may not have the right coin on this, because I thought this was 1901. And the thing about this is this middle reverse shouldn't exist on anything before 1901.
Jack said the berries above the arrowheads.
Berries above the arrowhead. I'm confused by that because there's no berries above the arrowhead.
Can you go back to the image that you had that showed the 3?
Exhibit. And again, folks, please forgive me because arrow feathers. Oh, okay. That might make a little bit more sense.
I read his fat finger.
Well, and I've got so much stuff open. I'm trying to. All right, so let's get over. Yeah, okay, so it is that one. Um, there we go. That's what we're looking for right there. And so this is this thing right there. That's what we're looking at. So this is the again, this is why it's important when you're looking at this to know where these things are in on the coin, because it would have been really easy for me to look at the ones below and go, well, that doesn't match. This must be wrong. So if you're going to be attributing coins like this, you really need to know where you're looking at, because you look at the wrong place, you find the thing that you don't think you're looking for, you could totally miss it. That is the C4 as the two berries. Yeah, and so this is the dingleberry. Okay, that's the dingleberry. it's just important to understand this context. So I want to make sure you're tracking that. Jack, I'm going to pull up your article. I'm going to have you go through, get you. Which one do you want to look at? The quarter, or do you want to look at the um, micro O?
Yeah, it'd be best to look at the micro O in the middle of this conversation.
Let me get. Let's this up. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to bounce between a couple different. Bear with me. All right, here we go.
Okay, so this is something I just put together for the discussion today. And I'm interested in all things counterfeit, and definitely interested in contemporary counterfeits. And part of my interest has been in learning through both Jack Riley and Winston Zach. So this little presentation is pretty basic, but I've started with the die-linked 5 that use the same obverse. And so this group, there's actually 5 of those, and you can see those by the VAM numbers. VAM 5, and there's a 22C1, 22C2, 52, and 59. And the 5 is the micro O and uses the common reverse that we talked about in the PCGS information. So go down a little bit further, it's going to show, basically the same markers, and this is the same that Jack Riley had in his, and this is the distinctive marks that's in all 5 of these offers VAMs. Go down a little bit further. So it talks about the die scratches, and that's the common one. And then this is the reverse. This is the common, I guess, most seen micro O reverse. And this again is from the VAM 5, but it's also in the others that we talked about in the PCGS article. So you can see the tilt of it, you can see the appearance of it, and you can see basically the location of it as an image from the VAN 5.
So when I look at this, and I've seen different photographs, this is a pretty decent photograph, but I've seen other ones where the New Orleans mint mark looks almost doubled. It's rotated to the right, and it's got like a thickening, um, but it almost looks like that mint mark is doubled. Um, do you know of any of that year that have like RPMs, or that there's doubling on them? Was that on the host coin? Why does that mint mark look like it does?
Hopefully, you're asking Young Jack.
Can I pause that for a moment? Which one? Oh, okay, yeah. He's like, this is exact. So what he wants everybody to look at is this right here. Okay, that area right there is what he wants everybody to look at, and that is the little depression that is to the left of the mint mark. This is why I put this in PDF, because I could highlight the area. This is the best way that I know to show.
Yeah, it's great.
So, um, what's significant about, was it an added mint mark? Um, it's a good question. I can't tell. We're gonna have to wait for is it glue or carved? It's definitely not glued. uh, the depression is on every coin with this reverse. Okay, beautiful. So when you're looking at that, okay, nice. Thanks for that, Jack. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's right there. And I'm going to when you produce stuff like this, I'm going to try and put because I found that you can highlight that area. Really helps people know exactly where the little tricks that we. So I'll turn it back over to you, Jack. Sorry, I'm squirreling everybody.
No, nothing to be sorry about. It's good definition. I'm glad Jack Riley's on. All right, so let's go down a little bit further.
And he said that it is not an added mint mark, by the way.
So that reverse, they actually designate the C3D, and that is the small micro O mint mark. Again, there are other reverses that are tied to the common obverses of this 5 coin group. And it said there's 3 dies were copied, and they believe it was copied from an 1899 O VAM6. And then there were other comments here about the VAM numbers, the 1896 O VAM4, the 1902 O VAM3, and of course the 1900 VAM5 that we see down there. And then it just a little highlight about PCDS making their announcement in 2005. And they said it's not unique just to the VAM5. And then this was an image off of VMworld that was just doing a comparison of two reverses. One, the micro O compared to a normal O from an 1899 O coin. So you can see a fairly significant difference in size between the two mint marks.
And the one is kind of rotated.
It is, yes.
So this is a really good time. So to talk about the orientation of the coin. Uh, so when we do this kind of piece here, right, it looks like this, right? And so you have that's where you're going to tell. And I can't draw a straight line up, but this is like the center point. This will tell you whether it's left, right, and then you take the line here, correct? And that tells you whether it is high, low. So in this case, this would be rotated, shifted left, and the mint mark is a little bit low. Back, Charlie, Young. Did I lose you guys?
I'm here. I guess I lost the question.
So when you're looking at the placement,
Yeah.
right? You run that line from the bottom of these two, and then you take it from the center, right? This is your kind of your center point. Isn't that how they determine the placement of the mint mark where it should be?
Yeah, they go in upon a reference so they compare, each image to each other, yes. Or they just superimpose them over top of each other.
So that's kind of what I was hoping you'd say. So one of the best tools in coin collecting is the ability to put two images over top of each, right? You'll get a lot of information by doing overlays. So um, photographs are your friends, and we have so much good information, so many good people that do this stuff. Just again, my what I wanted to get to was, in order to determine whether the place, taking a picture of the original and then overlay it with the image that you have. My point, Sue, that's exactly right. It's hard to tell. I wouldn't know if this is in the right place. I can tell that it's turned, it's rotated slightly clockwise, but I wouldn't be able to tell if it's in the right place. So what I would need to do, I would need to create an overlay. So take these two images and put them over top of each other, and then be able to see whether the position's in the right place, or high or low, or too big or too small. So anyway, Jack, sorry. I keep squirreling everybody. I'll quit talking.
You're fine. All right, let's go on down. So I did some images of mine. This one's pretty cool. This is a group, Variety Slabbing Service, and they actually go in and slab dams, and they slab the counterfeit ones as well. So this is one of my VAM 5 1900 micro O's. in his particular slab. Let me go down a little bit further. Doesn't
Sue,
have
real or Nana, are there any 1880 fakes? Yes, and if you want to look, go to Vam World. There's some known items, but you can always ask uh, Jack. He said there's nothing related to this particular family, but I'm sure counterfeits are out there.
So this is my annex one, and it's funny because it's like within one number of the certain number of one that Jack Riley also has. We both saw them on eBay at the same time. I think I got the lesser graded one, but again, it's in a genuine holder that goes back to the time that these were considered genuine coins. And it says top five. Of course, VAM 5 is one of the top 100. A little further down,
Mad Stacker member for 15 months. Thanks so much for your support, brother. I appreciate it.
this is a raw one that I got off of eBay. You know, I said you can never have too many of these, I suppose, but this is my higher grade example, and this one is raw. And then I go down and I have an 1896 OVAM 4. So that is the micro O, but it is a different obverse. It doesn't have the die scratches at the U and the M. But again, part of the family of micro O counterfeits. This one again in an annex slab, so it was considered genuine at the time it was slabbed.
And again, when you're looking at VAMs and they talk about top 100, these are things that people are looking at, right? These are uh, these are BCGS and NGC listed um, VAMs that I don't know. Is it still listed as a top 100 VAM 4?
It's still listed as the VAM in VAM world. Yeah. So it still exists, but of course now it says privately made, you know, not a US Mint product.
Mad and Vote for Pedro are blaming the cooler weather on the guy named Frosty.
And this is just pirated image off of the PCGS site, and also I think Jack's used this as a reference too, and it better shows those depressions by the O that you were circling on the coin.
Now, these ones look a little bit different than the other photo. And this is a really, really good point. By entering a 1 in chat, okay, I want you to tell me how many people, when you first looked at this, thought that that was raised on the surface of the coin. How many people saw that as raised? And if you look at it, and you say the word depression, how many people saw that item change from a raised scratch to a dent in the coin? The reason that I asked this, the reason that this is so important is knowing that if you're not very familiar, the image can fool you. One of my favorite pictures is the picture of the old um, styrofoam plates. You ever seen that one where there's a bunch of them sitting on a table? And when you look at that particular plate, um, they tell you, tell me if it is face up or if it is face down. And you'll get different answers. People will tell you that it looks like it's raised. And so when you look at that, it's like, okay, it's raised. Now, then you explain to somebody this is indented. Your mind's eye will change the way it sees that. And now you will have a hard time seeing it the way you seen it the first time. When you're looking at pictures of coins, there is something in your mind's eye that sees what it's familiar with. Most of us are looking for die scratches. Die scratches are raised on the surface of the coin. Most people are looking for extra metal. Extra metal is raised on the surface. Really easy when you're looking at some of these things to look at photos and get it wrong. So make sure you understand, look at the descriptions, and know exactly what that photo's saying before you make any kind of attribution to what that actually is. When I watched Paula and live going Q&A, when they would go through stuff, they would say, take different angles of the coins, change the light, change the position. And if you look at the lighting of these, the lighting on these are different. So if I look at this one right here, okay, and this is just about looking at the photo. If I look at this one right here, which direction is the light coming from? Now, I don't want you to look at the arrow. The arrow doesn't help you, by the way. But I want you to look at the position of the light. Where is the light coming from? Well, the light's coming from this direction here, coming from that direction. And you can see that because of the shadows inside, and you can see the highlight here on the coin. Okay. So that is coming, the light is coming from this direction. So it's important you know where the light's coming from, because then you can start to see shadows. And you can see the shadow here, and you can see the shadow here. That shadow's only going to present itself in that direction if it is in incuse. If it was raised and the light was coming from this direction, that shadow would be on the other side. So it's important you understand what to look at when you're looking at a photo, but it's also important to understand what you're seeing in the photo. Know the direction of the light. The direction of the light is going to tell you a lot about what you're seeing. So I see a lot of people look at photos online. Jack, you probably see this a bunch on your fun with fakes and stuff like that, where people take a photo and say it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake. It wouldn't be raised, it wouldn't be raised, or it wouldn't be this, it wouldn't be that. But they have no idea where the light's coming from. They have no idea where the shadows are coming from. They have no idea what. So just be careful when you're looking at photos. Um, Vote for Pedro. Side lighting will indicate much that's not. Yeah, so I'm going to actually do this real quick. Frosty's running again.
You're fine.
Laughing at me. So I want to show you what I mean by this. So right now I have, my light is coming from, let me get, so this key, my light is coming from this direction, okay? And when I change the position of the lighting, you'll see that, grab a knife, you'll see in the wing right here, that's going to help you identify the direction of the light. When I rotate this coin and I look at that and I look back at that area, that shadow on that particular facet of that coin is no longer shaded, now shaded on the other side. So knowing the direction the light comes from by looking at the image very carefully will help you determine whether something is in use or whether something is raised off of the surface. But it's really, really hard to do attribution off photos alone. Really know what. So just be careful trying to do that. Vote for Pedro said, I did thousands of product shots for General Mills back in the day. The direction of your light makes a huge difference. It does, but it also, if you've been on an online auction and you've seen any of the people who are crooked. Now, again, I'll move my light all over the place to see how it changes the surface and look of the. I can take away here. Okay, matter of fact, let's do this. I'm going to do just a quick show and tell and talk about the importance of light real quick. If I put the light right here, how many of the surface scratches disappear? Majority of them. I can actually frame this light to where almost all of those scratches disappear. But if I take and do the proper light, now you can start to see just how much is going on. Now that's just moving the light. But when I rotate this, you're going to see a whole lot more. Now, coin scopes are nice. They're fun. A lot of people like to use them, but you really want to get good at understanding coins. Learn how to look at a coin through a loop. Okay. A loop is going to teach you a lot more. You can see stuff with a loop. Just become really familiar with it. Make sure you're tracking. Jack, back to you. Sorry, I didn't mean to back. It's a teachable moment.
Yeah, no, that's good. You gonna pull the presentation back up?
I'm sorry. Quit talking so.
You're fine. Let's go down a little bit further. So this is one of the ones that is tied to the 5, has the same obverse, but it has a different reverse die. So it's still a counterfeit, it's still a contemporary counterfeit. I love this one because Segs, it's actually in a Segs holder. They were a third-party grader, and they say it's got rough surfaces, R-U-F-F. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Huh.
So that's one of my favorites. But it also notes not a U.S. Mint product, and Segs put that on a number of these that they had certified. So this was done at a time where they were identified as being contemporary counterfeits, and Segs actually listed them that.
Yeah,
And then,
that makes me laugh. I gotta tell you.
yeah, that's one of my faves. And then go down a little bit further. I think I got a little better image of it. Again, you can go down and you can actually see that die scratch we talked about between the U and the M. But it is a different reverse than what the VAM 5 and the others have. That is the 1900 VAM 22C1. So,
And so looking at this one and comparing it to the other one, this is also a transfer die, right?
yes,
Transfer die. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And down a little bit further, I think I just basically summed it up. Again, I'm at a lower level than both Jack Riley and Zach, but I do like the counterfeits. I do like the contemporaries, and I think I've got one more I've got to get for the 5 common obverse examples. My short set of contemporary counterfeits.
Well, I want to go back to this image for just a minute. Have you kind of talk about some of the things. So I am looking. This is a 1900. I have all my mortgage. I'm going to reach over and grab something. Just a sec. But what I'm doing, I pulled out all of my New Orleans Morgans, and I don't have a lot of Morgan dollars. Morgan dollars to me are they're cool. I like the history of them. It's just not my cup of tea when it comes to the item in which I want to collect. I like them, but it's a Morgan dollar. Okay, great. Unlike some people that hate the peace dollar, I'm a huge fan of the peace dollar. So I don't have very many. But what I want to do is I want to go through and look at um, or explain. Actually, I have Jack both in chat and Jack Young here on the live. How often, I guess, is the question I should be asking. Have you heard people hear or say, for instance, look at this 1900, and this is all they look for when they look at a Morgan to determine whether it's real or not, or your CC Morgans with the famous uh, scratch dent hole in the chest. Um, how often have you ran into people misattributing because they are attributing the wrong year's items to that coin. Does that make sense?
Yes, another way to frame it for me is the number of people that will call a coin counterfeit and really not know what they're looking at or what they're talking about.
Yeah,
And
I
you,
just yeah.
you see that a lot, obviously, in some of these multiple thousand people public pages, that'll just look at something and say it's counterfeit. Or the number of people that will simply look at the holder but not look at the coin. And we talk about that a lot is
Yeah.
you want to attribute the coin. Yeah, there are markers and we talk about some of those things on the slab because they become easy visuals. But I do have some counterfeit coins that trying to frame this better, where they basically took a genuine holder and swapped coins out. And people looked at that holder as being genuine and looked at the coin and had the right date, but didn't really go in and look to attribute that coin to determine what was going on with it.
Do wanted to know what year this SEGS lab was created, do you know?
No, that's a good question. I have to go in. I don't even know if SEGS is still there, to be honest with you. But that is a good question. I'd have to go in and Google that. And I don't recall when I bought that. I probably have a record somewhere that said, I know I purchased it off of eBay, but it's been quite some time ago.
Luther, have a good one, bud. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you as always supporting the channel, coming chat. And so take care. Go play with those kiddos in the snow. Keep them warm. Enjoy yourself. That's what life is about right there. Um, let's see. I want to address this question. And Jack, I want you to kind of look at Greg Olson. I picked up my first CC Morgan last week, 1882 with a light breast stripe. Does that concern you at all?
In 1882 with a light breast stripe.
Hmm?
I don't know Morgan's well enough to say if that does or that doesn't.
It's a Carson City, though. I want to see lighting. Horrible. Let's adjust the lighting on.
Would love to see an image of what we're talking about.
I'm going to light. This one is not. This actually is a counterfeit. Um, Definitely a counterfeit. It just doesn't have that same. I was hoping to show them the mark. Thought I had. Let me pull up another image of. Send your sliders to Yankee Heel. Sounds like a high AU coin out of it. Yeah, I was moving. I was moving to another location trying to grab a coin. Hey, what's up, Coach? How you doing? I'm trying to find and pull up. Trying to find a Facebook thing from Jack. I want to pull up that counterfeit because I want to see. I love your CC trade dollar example, by the way, the other day. Do you happen to have your Carson City with the scratch across the chest? You have a photo that you can. I can't find one in my.
Yeah, give me a second here. I should be able to PM one to you.
Okay, I'm trying to find it. Got so much stuff from you. I need to become better organized. Good, the bad, and the ugly. Sorry, folks, give me just a second. I want to pull up something and make sure that. And he said 82. So let me pull it back. 1880. Here we go.
I just PM'd you an image of an 81cc with the marks.
Okay, pull that up. Let's pull it up the Van World. I need, there we go. Thank you. That's what I wanted. What I want to look at is when people say with strike in the chest, it always concerns me because I'm wondering if this is what they're talking about. So I wanted to let me this one. So what I want to do is let's zoom in. Oh, hold on. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. So these are now this is 81, so it's not exactly the same, but this is pretty common through some of these. Let's go through some of the attribution points that you would see for that CC. What I want to get to, Greg, is I got it from the LCS's. Yeah, I just want to make sure that this is what they're talking about because this is a common mark on um, counterfeits, right? This is a yes,
Yeah, they use a common reverse for most of their CC coins, at least the one
there we go.
counterfeiter. There you go. The one counterfeiter out of China. So that's the slash we talk about in the chest, and many of them are more prominent. Some of them they've tried to wipe out a little bit, but we see that in a predominant number of the Chinese counterfeit CC Morgans. And then the CC itself is the form of it's not very good. It's in the wrong position. Um, and a lot of times when I do articles, I'll compare that to the two known dams of 81cc, and of course it doesn't match. So that's goes back to where we say attribute the coin, don't just rely on the holder. And then it also has this dot over the D, and that's pretty common as well. So those are three really good markers of that. And these coins are cast. A lot of them will see that the O and F is only partially filled out. Whether there's an obstruction in the tooling, I don't know, but we see that in various degrees as well.
Well, and again, when you're looking at some of these, and I'm not saying anything that I'm not, Greg, I'm not trying to indicate that your coin is real or not. But there are certain things when people say it's like, the indentation on the chest. Um, I always, when we're looking at Carson Cities, this scratch here um, is one of those things that it's when you see in Carson City, it's just like, oh, hopefully this isn't what they're referencing. Because this is a very common reverse, right, for counterfeit,
Yes, for CC counterfeit
for
chests. In
CC
fact,
counterfeits.
we've seen some where they removed the CC actually and tried to make it a Philadelphia, and it still had the slash.
Yeah. So, not to say anything, Greg, but it's just one of those things when you hear a certain thing, it's like, let's make sure that we're not saying what what I heard. Um, and so, if this is, I want you to do me a favor, get us some good photos. I'll get them to Jack. We can review those. But hopefully, this is not what you're talking about because that's not a good thing. It just doesn't have the details I'd like it. Yeah. Take some photos and send it to me, Greg. Exclamation point email and send me some photos. We will look at it. And how often does that happen to you, Jack? You'll hear somebody talking about something, you're like, "Ooh, I didn't like that description."
What happens quite often.
What coin do you hear it the most with?
A lot of these Morgans, we're seeing so many of these show up now, and we've talked about the fact that silver is where it's priced, and some of these are coming out of the woodwork, and that's one of the things for sure. Anytime that the people post the CC Morgan on eBay, I always look. It doesn't matter who it is. I always look and just make sure it isn't something that's not good.
Right. And again, folks, you can go to I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm pull up another one real. You can always pull up VamWorld and actually look at some of the information that's there. If you don't have um, VamWorld, and again, I've got this pulled up here. It's pretty small, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. It's going to change the way you look at stuff, but there's going to they're going to tell you what your mint mark should look like. They're going to walk you through um, what those items should look like. You'll see the little what is this? Is this tooling marks or is this just, do you know, Jack? What's inside the C?
That I don't know. I don't know that.
I
Damn.
wonder if they were just trying to polish, they couldn't get inside there. Just like they look like die scratches or something, maybe tooling marks, cleaning the die. Um, but one thing when you're talking about mint marks, and again, I know this we're supposed to be talking about New Orleans, but there's a lot of CC stuff out there just because of the desirability of the Carson City mint mark. Um, Mint marks can't be close; they have to be exact, right? So when you're looking through, um, and Greg said went through, found the VAMs, wasn't anything special. Okay, cool. Just make sure you're looking at this, and then all of those elements are going to be there, and just make sure you know what you're looking for. But when you're looking at trying to attribute one of these, make sure that you um, make sure that they match exactly. They can't be close. They have to match, right? You have to make sure that they match exactly. Could that be damage? I don't think it's maybe. Um, I'm not sure what's there. Um, I don't know exactly why that exists. I need
Well,
somebody
it
smarter than
actually
me.
said Marks in left CC under the title there.
Yeah,
Marks.
but I don't know what those marks are. I don't know if they are abrading, like if they were trying to clean up the die. Maybe there was a strike through or something. They were trying to clean something.
Yeah,
Not
I
sure
don't
what that
know, but
is.
I'm just
Yeah,
looking at the title of it that indicates that that's common for that dam.
yeah. So fun stuff. But again, when you're looking up here, again, Morgan's by date. You want to go back through. We were talking about that 19010, or yeah. Let's 19010. I got the coin up there. And then if you want to try to attribute what VAM it is, then obviously have the right coin up. Some of them are hard to go through. It's very difficult. They tell you about the different denticles and denticle impressions and stuff. You have to look through a whole bunch of these. Some of them there's not a ton of them. Other ones it's just ungodly. Like this one, there's a lot.
Look, there's the contemporary counterfeit listings. You see
Yeah,
it right there? There you
yeah.
go.
These are the ones you were referencing earlier, right? That's the 5 or 6 that you were showing.
Well, the 5 is the 1900, but yeah. Go all the way up. We'll see what it says all the way at the top. Oh, I'm sorry, you gotta go back to the where you were.
There you go.
Yeah, let's go all the way to the top here. Let's see where it says go down to VM 5.
VAM 5? You want me to open VAM 5?
Well, the VAM 5 was actually the 1900. That was the contemporary counterfeit. So
Okay.
this is you're in the 1901. So they did at least group the ones that they consider to be contemporary counterfeits down right there at those listings. Yeah.
Um, they need better images.
Yeah, some of those I think are rare enough they only have single images of them. Others they have some pretty
Yeah.
good images.
That's the hard part about finding coins like this is if you find one and you don't get good images of it, then that's all you have to reference again. And then I do like the fact that they remove listings and they'll tell you what they are. Jack Riley, 19010 VAM 42. Oh, I think that's what he was just telling me. That's a rare piece.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Wrong date for that. Yeah, see, and I don't know how in the world you do this. Um, it comes with years and years and years of practice, obviously. But again, as I stated at the beginning, there's a lot to go through. There's a lot to understand. But don't get discouraged, right? This is why we have people on here. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to a lot of this stuff. This is why I surround myself with people who do. That one of the best things that you can do, and as a leader in the industry that I work with, um, I fully understand that I'm not the expert in 99% of the work that we do. Um, so what I have to do is I have to make a really solid assessment, make sure that I surround myself with the people who are the experts. And yes, I'm good at researching. Yes, that is one of my strengths. Yes, I'm good at writing and putting stuff together. That's one of my strengths. But these people have been in the hobby for years. They've been researching this, knowing stuff. It is impossible for me to know in a couple years' time, not focusing on it, to have any idea of what some of this stuff is. So always defer to expertise. Always go back to the people who are, um, in the fields working for some of that. For $5,000, I know where one is. Um, yeah, that's a hefty price tag. Um, I know that I kind of stumbled through this again. Thanks for so much for being here, Jack. I appreciate your always coming on Sundays and doing the chit chat. Uh, I do a lot of this stuff so that I can learn with you. How how do you collect coins without being an expert? You surround yourself with people that know. Um, look at the coin before you buy it. Read the book before you buy the coin, right? Do some research. A lot of the counterfeits that Jack Young has talked about on this channel, if you just used a red book, you'd be able to figure it out. You'd be able to know that there's no way that that can happen. The problem is people, one, they don't want to defer to experts. Number two, people believe they know more than. And when you have somebody that claims to know everything about every coin, we do have channels out there that are like that, right? Jack, you and I have talked about a non-specific channel that is very much that way, right?
Yes, we have, and a particular person.
Yeah, and when you run into situations like that, it's like there's no way you cannot know everything about a hobby. It's just impossible. You have to be. You can have good general knowledge, But oftentimes, what'll end up happening is you'll counter yourself, and we see this with a number of people.
Can I make a comment?
Please,
To me, it's focus and being focused on what you want to collect. And then, as you say, buy the book, surround yourself with good people. When I became interested in early American copper, I didn't know a lot about it. I joined early American coppers because I wanted to surround myself with people that did know it and did have the experience. I have a library of books focused only on early American copper. I got to the point where I could identify most of the varieties of 94 large cents simply by looking at it by eye. And I became my own expert. And I
yeah.
preach that, become your own expert. Yes, you want to rely on other people because there are other people that probably know more than you. But once you've become focused and you really deep dive into it, you can rely on yourself on those things. It's when you become so broad. I mean, it's obvious when I'm talking here about Morgan's that I'm out of my water. That's not a focus. I enjoy the contemporary counterfeits, but beyond that, that's just not my expertise. And there's no way that one person is going to know everything you need to know to make the proper decisions in collecting coins. You just can't do it. I just had a podcast on another channel where the gentleman was reviewing some of the counterfeits in my case, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was at the Indiana State Show,
Ben the
but
Coin Geek. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
it's a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
he starts it out by saying counterfeit expert Jack Young, and the hair stands up on the back of my neck because there are other people that are probably more expert, and I don't know again that any one person is expert in the entire field. So pick your battles, know what you're doing, and when you're out of your water and looking at a coin, then rely on someone else that does know.
Shotgun Susie, thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome to the channel. It's good to have you here. Appreciate you coming in this morning. Um, this is a basic tenet of what I use. Again, you guys know I'm a process person. My job working in the hospital industry is to assess how well we utilize the tools that we have at our disposal. And I learned something from a leader a long time ago. Jack talks about focus. Um, and I do triathlon, right? Run, swim, bike. And we have a saying, why suck at one sport when you can suck at three? And a lot of people don't understand what that means. And if you look at a swimmer, all a swimmer does is swim. They may lift weights and do stuff, but it's all to improve their swimming. If you're going to look at Morgan Dollars, look at Morgan Dollars. Vote for Pedro. Thank you so much for putting that in there. Much appreciated, brother. But you have to have that focus. My focus is I love learning about counterfeit. I love understanding what I need to look for. That is not my focus. Okay. That's Jack Young, Jack Riley. That's Zach. That's Matt. There's a whole bunch of people that focus on that. What I need to do is I need to connect with that network that does that and say, show me some of the things I need to look for and come talk about it. If I were to do nothing but look at counterfeits, then that would be my focus. My focus is general information. So the focus for me on this channel is to provide you with as much real, true, reliable information as I can. How do I do that? By acknowledging the fact that I don't know crap. These are the people that need to do this. Chuck, Eric from Copper Coins, Live Coin Q&A, Amanda, just when it comes to overlays, she does an amazing job. Breadth of knowledge, extremely quiet. People underestimate how smart she is. Paula, very vocal, totally different demeanor, extremely knowledgeable in errors and varieties. If I'm looking for a 2 cent piece, I'm going to Shay from Mantic Coins. If I'm looking for Morgan dollars or counterfeits and stuff like that, I've got my team of people that I go to. So it's not about knowing it all, it's about knowing who to go to, that deference to experts. And that's what I want this channel to be about. I want to have those people come up, visit, hang out, talk about those things, because I will never be the expert. I can't be. I'm not studying that. And if you realize that, you recognize that, then it's not so overwhelming. And a lot of people look at this like, Coach, right? Your comment earlier that's like, God, there's so much stuff, and I get so wrapped up in the counterfeits. Um, if it ruins your enjoyment of the hobby, then that sucks. But it doesn't matter if you're doing art, it doesn't matter if you're doing stamps, it doesn't matter if you're doing trebuchets, it doesn't matter what you're collecting. There's counterfeits everywhere. Coach purses, flip flops. Eric Byers' #1 trivia thing is the most counterfeit thing in the world. Are freaking chunkless flip flops, sandals. It's unreal. The next closest counterfeit thing is like half of the dollar value. It's something like $500 billion. Ungodly amount of money. And it's chunkless flip flops. So it doesn't matter what you're in, you're going to have the potential for counterfeits. What's important, the whole lesson for what some of this stuff is if you're going to be buying, do your research first. I went to the coin show yesterday. My goal was to pick up 2 coins. They were both half cents. Looked through all the collections, all the sets, didn't have them. I knew exactly what I was looking for. Here I was looking for, and I knew the grade that I wanted.
Did you say half cent?
Half cent.
1806?
Yeah. I know the person to call for that one.
I've got a couple.
It's actually the I'm looking for the 1849, 1850 to fill a typeset book.
Gotcha.
I actually have the other one. But what's important, it's not that I know this. It's not that I have all the answers. It's that I know who to go to. And when I find the coin, I can take photos and, do what Jack just did just moments ago. Hey, I'm PMing you a photo. Look at it. Pull it up on the screen. I can send him photos. Jack Riley, you still in chat? How many times have I sent you photos of this type of coin right here? Over there. Across. As soon as I do this, he's going to be like, I know what that is. Here, if I just give you guys, there we go. Adjust this lighting just a little bit. Yeah, yeah. He knows what coin this is just by that. He knows exactly what this is. And if I turn this over and I show him, he's like a number of times, and I show him this, he's going to tell me whether this coin is authentic or not. Now, I know what to send him because he's like, all right, Frosty, how many times do I got to tell you this? Oh, that trade dollar. Yeah, that one. But he knows. So what is important about this hobby? It's about building a network. It's about building a team of people who have good, solid, reliable information, who know what the hell we know. And yeah, exactly, Coach. Recognizing our own limits. And that's really hard for us to do. Really hard for us to do. And so when you look at these things, and when you start to talk about things, and you start to see people who understand what's going on, build relationships. If you're really interested in trade dollars and learning about them, you need to go meet Jack Riley. If you're interested in really understanding the counterfeits, the 1806, as Jack just mentioned, the large cents or the old early coppers, Jack's your buddy. Jack should be the person you're like, hey, teach me. I'm going to go buy this. I'm looking for this coin. What should I look for? Hey, you know, a lot of people in the community, who might I go to talk to about getting an authentic one? I'm looking at spending $15,000, $20,000. Let's build some really good connections. That's what you need in this hobby. And it doesn't matter if you're into artwork or gold or silver, whatever. Your network really matters. That's what this channel needs to. That's what this channel's intent is to bring you some stories. I'm good at that. I like that. I like writing. I like talking about the histories. That's my thing. That's where I excel. I can do that. I can research. I can pull stuff up and I can tell you the histories of places. I love doing that. But I've got people in my phone that I can call at any time and say, hey, I'm looking for a coin, help me. And they will do so. And that's what we need in the hobby. Um, Jack, I appreciate you, bud. I appreciate you, Jack Riley. Thank you so much for coming up today. Um, but it's times like this, it's these kind of conversations that uh, this is what this hobby's for, right? It's to enjoy the collectability of the coins of history, to look at the U.S. see as still a fledgling nation. We are a young nation, and to take time to look at some of the things that we have and appreciate that. But it's really about community. It's really about coming together and joining. One, for us, the protection of the hobby, but the other one is more about understanding, who those people are that we can utilize when. That's the most important. Did you get the file yesterday on the current inventory I have? I did. Do you want me to pull that up real quick? Let me do that. Do you have anything to add, Jack?
No, not really. I've enjoyed this morning. Um, you and I talked about some of the really deceptive ones. Those are the ones that I've really become focused on. And we continue to see those show up in people's collections and submitted to TPGs. And so that one is one that keeps my focus.
I'm going to pull this up. So we've seen this photo. Familiar. That's the one that's one cert number off of yours, correct?
Correct. He bought the nicer one.
And these are all Jack Riley's. These are his personal. It'll be difficult to add anything to it, but everyone can take a look at the varieties. And again, looking at some of these things, I find myself looking at like four places. I find myself looking here. I find myself looking here. I find myself looking here. I find myself looking at this, and I look at the mint mark and go, oh, it's rotated. It's right. It's kind of looks like that double die. I need to pay attention to this O a little bit better. Right. I'm looking for the little chop marks here. Now they're not even on this particular, but I'm looking for those strikes, the few little marks here. So I'm looking at a bunch of different things, but the thing is I just talked about 5 different coins. Which one is actually going to be on this? And so again, I wouldn't be looking at these by myself. I would have some help, and I would make sure that I surrounded myself. Because again, you definitely can get yourself into trouble. And Jack, just think of what would happen if somebody misrepresented that 1908, didn't really know, and that thing sold. How bad could that be down the road?
The 1806?
Or the 1806, I'm sorry.
Well, they did get misrepresented. I ended up getting them, off the market, and people were shocked. I mean, that's the issue is those deceptive counterfeits are continuing to show up and are going to continue to be sold. The issue becomes once you're aware of it, what do you do? And, if it's in a TPG holder, then you have recourse because all four of the top TPGs guarantee authenticity so you can get your money back. But when you're doing it with a dealer off of eBay, that can become a real concern.
Can I clarify your comment a little bit and not correct you, but you and I have talked about this. Language here matters.
It does, and I was just gonna note, EM and I had a little back and forth there about good dealers or good sellers and good dealers, and I know a lot of good dealers, obviously, and some of these coins actually came through very good dealers, and the issue became they were that good. It was an error, and they didn't realize they were counterfeit, but they stood behind them, so that's the other thing, know who you're buying from, know the coin. Um, I have friends that immediately want to crack a coin out of a TPG holder. Well, make sure you know what it is first, because a good friend cracked one out, and then I proved it was counterfeit. He had an issue then with the TPG because it was no longer in the holder, which basically violates their authenticity guarantee.
Yeah, and again, folks, just because they're in a slab doesn't mean that slab is authentic, right? And this is one of the things that we heard from this other channel, and we immediately started to go back and say, "Sorry, folks, wrong." Fortunately, the quote unquote self-proclaimed expert, and I will utilize that. I will say that without ever calling the channel out, is that they were saying, well, yeah, but if they can't understand that, they're too big of idiots. They shouldn't be buying anyway. It's a really bad um, way to look at our hobby. Um, Somebody who comes in wants to do something. Maybe they're buying a $10,000 coin as a retirement gift for somebody who's done 30 years of service. They may be brand new. So you're saying that that idiot shouldn't buy that coin as a gift for somebody? That is a really bad thought process. We should have it in our mindset, teach people about the coin itself. And yes, teach people about the holders and understand what's going on. But just because it's in a holder doesn't mean it's going to get backed up by that company. That holder may not be authentic. And again, just like cracking out a Redfield holder, once you crack that out, you can't attribute that to that item anymore. You have effectively lost that money. So you got to be very, very knowledgeable about whether or not the slab is real and about cracking something out before you have all the information. So again, know your sources, know who you're going to. Um, we've talked
Jack's
about,
collection here is amazing. As you go
yeah.
through these are just he's really putting together a high-end collection.
Shotgun Susie, I love Thai food, by the way. Just let you know. Authentic Thai, hot Thai. Serving in the Pacific and the Navy. Huge appreciation for hot, spicy Asian food. So, Jack Riley, how long did it take you to amass this set? Every one of these coins is counterfeit, by the way, if you're not tracking that.
It's an amazing collection, is it not?
It is.
It's just fascinating. He sent me that image last night as well, and it's like I just put it in my reference because, it's helpful going forward.
Well, and yeah, and it's a good, clean, solid image. You can zoom in, see things pretty clearly. Photos matter, folks. Right? A couple of years. Okay, nice. But I'm interested in the other coin he's working on right now. I'm really looking forward to see what happens with that one. You guys know what I'm talking cryptic for. And I got to be honest with you. How many people are looking at some of these counterfeit coins going, ooh, I would buy that. Right?
Well,
Um,
just remember they were considered genuine not that long ago.
Yeah, before we came live, you and I were talking, and I would like you to reiterate what you said about that, um, the history and looking back with the knowledge. Can you repeat kind of what you're talking about then?
Well, I don't know if I can remember that far back, but we talked about PCGS and we talked about the fact that these go back to the 40s and they were considered to be mint products. And then there were a number of these that suddenly started getting submitted to PCGS. And because there were so many, they started to take a look and they started to do some comparisons and realized they had the matching marks and they realized some of the dye pairings. And so in 2005, that's when they came out with their statement that these are actually contemporary counterfeits. So their learning changed. They learned based on additional data and they did their due diligence. And as a result, they've come back and now the genuine, basically the hobby itself acknowledges that, yeah, these are actually counterfeits and not struck at the U.S. Mint. So again, we talk about institutional learning. You know, people need to be able to adapt and move forward as they get more data, get more images, get more information, and make those kinds of corrections and move forward. Where we have some struggles is when they don't seem to mind their own information and they start slapping some of these as genuine again. And it creates an issue in the hobby at that point.
Have a great day, vote for Pedro. Thanks for coming in, brother. Always appreciate your support. The comment that I was looking for was with your institutional knowledge that you were talking about at the very beginning, where
Yes.
there's a point to where we're going to lose if we don't discuss this. We don't keep this on topic. That institutional information will be lost. We know this because that 1806 that you're talking about, that's your thumbnail, ended up in a brand new folder. And I always go back to the Mark Hoffman comment regarding if enough people believe it to be real, eventually it becomes so. And this is the thing about understanding counterfeits and sharing information in a community like we need to keep that institutional knowledge. We need to keep this coin collecting knowledge out there. We need to be able to discern the wheat from the chaff. We need to be able to determine what's good, what's not, and make sure that stuff like this is why I'm really glad that, you know, you guys have done so much work and put out so much information on what you've done here and stuff like this. I love Gold Maple's comment. Like I'd get suckered pretty easily. I wouldn't know what to check for. Goodness gracious, I didn't know there were so many counterfeits. This is only one family, dude. One family. There's way more out there than this. And this is why it's important. This is why I really want people to understand. This isn't a little problem. This is a big problem. Um, we just don't see most of it because, for the most part, we have a pretty good community. Um, but there's a lot of folks out there that don't have that. I tell the stackers this all the time. We work together. We see each other all the time. We're in the same streams. You know, we know the size of our community, and we think that everybody should know that. We don't. We are in a very small niche in a mix of people that less than 2% of the people stack or collect any kind of item like this. So we're a very small collective group of people, and there's way more opportunity for misinformation than there is for good information. So when you find people that are really trying to provide good, solid information, it's important to hold on to those. This is why I appreciate the relationship and the friendships I've developed with Jack Young, Jack Riley, Zach, Paula, Amanda, Eric from Copper Coins, Chuck, Mike and Matt, Aaron Burke, Russ Vega. There's so many amazing people that are really trying to progress and move the hobby forward. And folks, I don't have half the networks these guys do. I don't know the names. I mean, I didn't even know the name of one of the guys who's basically been leading the charge for some of it. There you go. Jack Riley's like, quit talking and scroll. Um, Bam 96. There you go. There you go. Um, but again, surrounding yourself with people, having the right network, that's probably the most important that you can do for protection in this hobby. And people get it wrong. Don't let the mistake destroy this hobby for you. Don't let buying the counterfeit coin destroy this hobby from you. Opportunities. Take it as an opportunity to grow and to learn as a person. That's what matters. Um, it's those lessons that we learn in life that help us and what we should and shouldn't do. So don't get down on this. Don't get frustrated by this. There's a lot of information. Like any of you, I don't. I'm learning it. I'm learning a lot of information. Again, go back to the source. Go back to the people who do this. And Jack Riley's putting a bunch of stuff in chat regarding telling you some of the cool things you can look for. You can see he's excited about it. He loves it. Why wouldn't you want him as part of your network? So connect yourself with people who want to better you, and you will be a better person for it. All right, folks. Well, Jack Riley, thank you so much for being in chat. I hope I didn't destroy your work too much. I tried to be a good steward of the information. Jack Young, as always, brother, I love and appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming today and hanging out with everybody, imparting your knowledge on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it as well. And again, I'm learning these. This is great. I mean, I learned a lot today just from Jack Riley and the information that he presented. So that helps me going forward. And again, it just there's too much to know if you're too broad. Focus on what you really want to collect, and focus on what you really want to learn. And I guess that's my takeaway this morning.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. So you guys are going to be hearing more numismatic stories, more history. You're going to be learning about the history not only of our nation when it comes to the coinage, but where we got some of the ideas. We're going to have to tap into some French and English and Spanish history. Means we're going to have to talk a little bit more about reals and understanding the crowns, why and where some of our designs came from. We're going to talk about the designs and the elements on the coin, what they actually stand for. So lots more stories, lots more history. If you enjoy that stuff, Saturday's your day. But if you like the nitty gritty, you want to get down into the coin, Sunday's your day. So there's 2 days for everybody. I hope to see you there. Thank you guys so much for your day. Be well, be blessed. Happy holidays. If you drink, lose your keys. Uber is cheap. Find a good friend. We'll talk to you later, folks.